Hello, this is Hamlet from the Guild Elitist Jerks on the server Mal'Ganis, narrating a challenge mode run of Scarlet Halls. This isn't meant to be a record-breaking run, just showing the route that we took through the first gold I achieved in this zone, and in particular, the issues that came up as a healer. So straight away in this zone we have to deal with the Meat and the Vigilant Watchman packs. There are two, one in this opening hallway and then one right around the corner. You have to tag them with some ability before sicking the dogs on them so that you get credit for one kill. We actually missed the tag on the one in the opening hallway, so we're going to be one enemy short all the way through, which we'll revisit at the end. Otherwise, the monk tank is the one who grabs a shield and rolls down the hallway. Anyone with a speed boost can do that. And within about 30 seconds, we're taking down Commander Linden. Nothing too exciting there so far. We're going to need two more Vigilant Watchman packs to exactly meet our mob total. So as soon as we go through the gate, the tank is going to run around the corner to the right past that angry Hound and get one on his own while the rest of the group moves up and takes down the one right before the Houndmaster's room. So in total, you should be getting 4 Vigilant Watchmen killed by starving Hounds and getting credit for them. Here I refresh my hots on the tank while I wait for him to go around the corner. I can't follow him because there's an angry Hound in the way, but normally he doesn't get that low in this process, so I'm not sure what happened there. Preparing for the Houndmaster, he's not that bad. Most of the damage is on the tank. The only non-tank damage is a dot he puts on people who get hit by either his dagger throw or AoE spin abilities, called I think Bloody Mess. It stacks up on people. It's not that bad, but you have to throw heals on them periodically when they have it. Normally for a zone of this length I'd have liked to use Heart of the Wild to DPS on the first and last boss, but the tank takes quite a lot of damage here, and I think I'd lost him on a previous run while trying to DPS, so I just played it safe. When the group of hounds gets more numerous, we'll control them a bit with Leg Sweep and Remorseless Winter. Our group setup doesn't have an amazing slate of AoE CCs. Our plan for most intense trash packs is going to be Leg Sweep and Remorseless Winter. And you can see the tank taking a lot of damage here. I mean, there I'm just plowing about 5 consecutive crit regrowths into him, and his HP wasn't going up. In general, something to learn as you plot your route through any challenge mode is memorizing the places where you have to spam heal the tank, sort of old-fashioned tank healing style, and when you have to try to be more efficient. Similarly, you have to know what mana usage you expect. In particular, which are the places in the zone where you can drink without having to make the group stop, and a little bit of RP with the dogs after this fight is one of them. You can get a brief combat break here right after the dogs finish murdering the Houndmaster. I think you need your DPS to stop on the Houndmaster a couple seconds early. You'll see here that I just get a split-second combat break and it's not enough time to drink. Not a big deal. It means I'll have to ask for a combat break before Armsmaster Harlan, but obviously better if you could sneak your drinking in without having to interrupt the group's flow at all. Coming up right after the Wall of Guardians is where we're going to use our Invisibility Potion, so that also means you can't have used a potion anytime during the Houndmaster. Make sure you wait for the Hounds to completely take down the Guardians before you try to walk by. They will one-shot you. As far as invisibility potions, just make sure you have your procedure worked out in advance. It's a huge pain if someone messes something up and you have to wait 10 minutes before trying again. You can see there I use Stampeding Roar before clicking my potion. It's okay if people are already invised when they get the Stampede effect, but you will be broken out if you click any ability such as Stampede or Aspect of the Pack after hitting your potion. As we come out of invisibility into the safe spot on the stairs, we have to turn around and pull one pack to us to meet our mob total. In particular, you have to watch for the Scarlet Evangelist. It has a 5-second Holy Fire that can one-shot anyone in the group, as well as a healing spell it will channel into other group members. If you're wondering why I'm spamming heals on the tank here, watch what happens to his HP the moment our Leg Sweep and Remorseless Winter combo comes off. He very nearly gets one-rounded, and that's with, right there, with a Nature's Swiftness shoved into the middle of that whole stack of damage that he took. There's actually an even worse pack, which is the pack of 7 mobs patrolling the hallway right behind me by Armsmaster Harlan's room. Once we have this down to just a defender, we can move on and chain pull into the next pack, which in this case is Armsmaster Harlan. We check the patrol, it's there, so we have to wait a bit. And also, like I mentioned, I ask for a combat break here for Armsmaster Harlan because I haven't gotten a drink yet this whole zone. Normally you want to plan your routes so that you never have to ask your group to stop and drink, but if something happens and you don't break combat at a point in the run where you're supposed to and you are out of mana, it only takes a few seconds to have them kill off the mob before pulling the boss, start your drink, and then the tank can move in, especially if it's a not that scary boss where you can drink through the first few seconds of it. There's nothing especially new about Armsmaster Harlan in challenge mode. The adds that come in still have their damage reduction ability right at the start, so a tank can't pick them up just by having done a little damage to them. They either have to taunt them as they run by, or here we have a monk tank, so Dizzying Haze works well. While I have a bit waiting for this boss fight to end, I'll just talk about healer setup. In my challenge mode gear, after being scaled down inside challenge modes, I have about 15,000 int, 5,000 spirit, just enough haste to make my breakpoint, a little over 3,000, and 4,000 mastery. It's more or less as much throughput, int, and mastery as I can manage. And if you see how the healing looks on some of the trash pulls and boss fights, you can basically see why I'm set up that way. You just need maximum burst healing to be able to keep the tank stable. Regen is not actually that important because the challenge mode is set up in short pulls and you can always drink when you need to. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing it very often. You should be taking advantage of whatever free drink opportunities the zone gives you and trying to make it from each one to the next one without ever having to stop the group. But worst case, if you have to go for 5 minutes of hard trash packs or something and you're not going to make it on mana, you stick one 5-second drink break in the middle and you're good to go. My symbiosis here is the shaman. Normally I like to give it to the Death Knight because Icebound Fortitude is very nice to have, and Wild Mushroom Plague is helpful for his DPS, but Solar Beam we thought had the chance to be very useful in this zone. As far as talents, the only interesting note is Heart of the Wild. It's one of the great strengths of Resto Druids and challenge modes, and a lot of the reasons why they can be a desired healer there. In this particular run, I never found a good time for Heart of the Wild, but if we had wound up having to refine our path more in order to actually get the gold, I definitely would have. Alright, moving on from Armsmaster Harlan. Here I fat-fingered Spirit Walker's Grace that was meant to be stampeding in order to get everyone up to the top for the next trash pack. Coming up here in the hallway, like I said before, is the 7 pull. It's the hardest pack in the zone, so we use Army of the Dead to make it the easiest pack in the zone. And I also drink a little while here, especially on whatever pull your group armies. You don't need to heal at all for the first few seconds, although you should still be vigilant. I mean, it looks like our Death Knight got hit by something while pulling and went into purgatory. This pack does have 2 Evangelists and 2 Evokers, which is why it can be so messy. You do need good interrupting and using whatever CC abilities you have. Again, here's our Leg Sweep and Remorseless Winter Rotation, and maybe even Capacitor Totem in there. As Army goes down, again, the damage ramps up for the last few seconds of this pull, so you carefully heal it off. After this, things are going to get a little easier, as we don't have to deal with those caster mobs anymore in the final hallway. Once the pack is down to a defender again, someone can keep single targeting a bit while you move up and set up for the next pack. We're going to get the first packs of Scarlet Hall Guardians and Treasurers here. We should pull 4 of them into this hallway. Treasurers do a little statue toss. It's just some random physical damage on someone in the group. What you have to watch for though is the Scarlet Hall Guardians, which can jolt. It's a 3-second stun that, as far as I know, you can't do anything about. And tank healing is something that takes a little more care when you can get stunned for 3 seconds at any time. At this point, all that's left are the 2 packs of Guardians and Treasures in the next hallway, and then the AoE packs with Pupils in the final hallway before the boss. It's not nearly as bad as the ones with Evangelists and Evokers and Myrmidons, where we skipped most of them, but just had to do 2 of them. Coming up here into the next hallway, you can kind of see how things can be a bit rough when you have a bunch of Guardians and Treasurers. We do pull them all, which isn't too scary, except there I get jolted and jolted again right here, and that starts to get a bit problematic on the tank. So I mash NS on him the moment I come out, but that doesn't leave much for me. I kind of bark skin here and hope not to get by 4 consecutive statue tosses, and you can see how that goes. So just be careful or consider taking it a little slower in this hallway. Don't panic. Fortunately, our group has another regrowth effect. I just pop out, stabilize the group. Nothing really bad came of it. The only complication is I would have had enough mana to go through the entire final trash sequence, but after dying, I have to ask for a combat break, obviously, right after this pull. But we're quite ahead on time, so it's not really a major issue. That does remind me, though, if you're healing challenge modes, you should go to the Quartermaster and Cloxy Vests, as long as you're at least Cloxy Honored, which you should be from questing, and buy some stacks of Restorative Amber. It's an item that works mostly like food, but it gives you back the mana significantly faster and also doesn't break if you get pulled into combat. I had forgotten to buy them, and so here I am using normal food, but it's a good thing to have. There's no reason not to. Coming up into this hallway, the AoE packs with the Pupils and the Scholar are pretty easy. Your Interrupter has to watch the Scholar. It has both a shield that can protect the whole group and a Fireball Barrage. I think you can pull both Pupil packs in this hallway if you need to for time. They seem like you should be able to AoE them down just fine. Somewhere in there will be a Guardian patrolling down the hallway. I haven't stopped too much to note the time benchmarks, although since it's visible in the video, you can go back and see what our pace was at any point in the zone. Just for a preview, so you have some idea, we're going to finish with a little over a minute to spare, except for dealing with that little snafu about being one mob short that I described earlier on. So you could actually loosen our pace quite a bit and take a few things more slowly if you needed to be careful and still get your gold. Coming up here in the final hallway, most of the hardest parts are behind us. We AoE down the last pupils and move on to the final boss. So 49 of 50 enemies going into the final boss is obviously a problem. We were debating on Vent whether he would count. It turns out he did not, and we just made sure we had already talked about what we were going to do in case he didn't. As far as the boss himself, you mainly just want to make sure that you correctly block every book burner. And as you can see here, it can be a bit finicky. Coming up for second, there's this one, and it looks like there are two people right there. I have no idea why it got off. If it gets off, don't panic. It's a lot of damage, but anyone can survive one tick of it. So you tank him far away, obviously make sure everyone's standing out of it, and the only issue is when he casts Dragon's Breath. And everyone sort of has to do a good job of getting behind him here and then quickly ducking around his body and only taking one tick. In the confusion here, someone gets hit by the Dragon's Breath, but as long as you dispel it before the dot ticks once, you can actually save them, so it's definitely a good thing to watch out for on this fight. Once all our problems here are sorted out, it's back to his normal, straightforward self. It's a good time to use Heart of the Wild and fill in on a bit of DPS. We were so far ahead in time, I didn't worry about it too much since I was mostly just concerned about making sure there were no issues. There we do a book burner just fine. And so, as you can see, we're coming in here on pace to finish him off with a little over a minute to go. Even though we have to go back to fill in an enemy that we missed somewhere, it wasn't because we skipped something that we shouldn't. It was just because we didn't get credit for that first Vigilant Watchman at the very beginning of the zone. So here, the main part of the run, the boss himself is going down with, looks like it's going to be just about 1:12 left on the clock. So that's not bad at all. Here, because we were expecting it, I stampeded us backwards to the room with the cannoneer so we could just go finish off one more mob. If something like this happens to you in any challenge mode, just don't panic. You have to run back, usually to whatever room you invis past, and find one trash pack and kill one mob in it. As long as you sort of keep your wits about you and heal properly and don't wipe, which would obviously be sad. You just let your DPS burst down one mob, and then as soon as you kill it, which counts as completing the challenge mode, everything else will despawn. So otherwise, this was my fourth challenge mode gold. I think Scarlet Halls is still in roughly the easiest third of the zones. Of the ones I've done so far, Mogushan Palace is harder. I do hope to get more videos made of all the ones that I still have yet to do, and hopefully at some point of the few that I've done already. For now, please tell me what you thought of this video, whether it was helpful for you in trying to do the challenge on your own as a healer or otherwise, or anything in particular you'd like to see in future ones. Thank you for watching.